Trigger warning: this content includes discussion of sexual abuse. It may be upsetting or triggering for survivors. Please prioritize your well being and consider whether you want to continue. Support resources are available if you need them. Hello, welcome to another episode of Journey to Overflow. I am your host, Deshandra G. So, on this episode, we're getting a little deeper and a little heavier as the discussion will be lust or love. So, at the age of 3, I was molested by my father in a open area. What I mean by open area is I had watch visitations because of a situation that occurred with him and my mother. And so CPS had to get involved, and through CPS they had an agency where I had to be supervised with him, and this agency no longer exists. But I remember, even though I was 3, I do remember them walking out, like clear as day. I remember the person walking out, even though later on it was said they didn't. And of course, at the age of 3, you're not thinking, like, you're playing with toys, you're playing with different things. So you're not thinking like, oh, this can happen to me because, you're 3. So I'm thinking he's changing a pull up or something. That's not what occurred. But he violated me. And so, of course, looking back on it now, and as I started to grow up, I realized that changed the trajectory on how I viewed myself, how I viewed males, and how I viewed love. My viewpoint of love was skewed by lust. And so I thought that lust was love. I thought the only way to intimacy was through sexual encounters. And so I became extremely curious about sex at a young age, in elementary, as young as elementary school. I became addicted to pornography and masturbation in middle school. And then I started to become sexually active in high school, to where that led to a teen pregnancy. And I'll talk about that more later, of that situation. But because of all of that, I carried shame and guilt over the years like a cloak. Like when I say like when you saw me, you saw shame and guilt all over me. And I know people that I've dated or talked to, been in a relationship with, they could smell it on me. They could smell it. Now, probably not, no, I would say even middle school, high school, they could smell it that I was thirsty for their attention. I was thirsty for what they can give me, even if it was this much of their energy, even though deep down inside I wanted way more. But they could smell the fact that she'll take scraps of me and I'll get what I want from her. And so, because I wore that shame and guilt on me because of something someone else committed to me, I saw myself as damaged goods. I didn't see myself like God sees me at that time. Growing up, I saw myself as damaged goods, that nobody would love me truly for me, but that I was only worthy of sex. That's it. I was only worthy of fornication. That is all. And so today we're going to process and go through the story of Tamar and Amnon, which comes from 2 Samuel 13, verses, I'm going to start from 11 to 14, and then in 19 to 20, and then go down to 23 to kind of round it up for you all. So in verse 13, it says, "And I, where could I take my shame? And as for you, you would be like one of the fools in Israel. Now, therefore, please speak to the king, for he would not withhold me from you." So pretty much what's happening here is Tamar is pleading with her half brother Amnon. She's pleading with him because he wanted his sister. Just to give a little backstory of Tamar and Amnon before going into explaining what 13 is about. Amnon, he was feeling his sister. He was lusting after his sister. And he wanted her real, 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 real bad. Now, during this time, it was not permitted, and it was actually a death penalty if you committed incest. But he just could not. He could not get off, like get rid of the grip of his lust for his sister. So instead of people holding him accountable, his friend helped him. His friend like gave him the whole rundown of how he could pull this off. Act like you're sick. Then when your dad comes in, have him to send in your sister. And then from there, try to have sex with her. Lay with her, as they say in the Bible. Lay with her. Well, in the New King James Version, let me say that. So that's what he does. That he goes, from verbatim. He takes his friend's advice from top to bottom. And so in this moment, she's pleading with him, like, please don't do this to me. More than anything, like, I will willingly become your wife, even though I know that it is shameful and it's not what we're supposed to do. I'd rather you talk to our father, which is King David, which is the person from like David and Goliath. At this point, he is king. And I'd rather you talk to him and ask him to make me your wife versus you just forcing yourself upon me. Because you're going to look like a fool, and you know that it's the death penalty for that. And then I'm going to have this shame because she was a virgin. She was a virgin. She was a woman of virtue. But did he listen? No. And we'll continue to go through that. And so in verse 19, just like just like me wearing the clothing of shame and guilt, Tamar did the same in verse 19. It says, "Then Tamar put ashes on her head." So this is a sign of like mourning, grief, sorrow, and tore her robe of many colors. This robe of many colors was a symbol of her virtue, a symbol of her virginity and being pure. So she tore her robe of many colors that was on her and laid her hand on her head and went away crying bitterly. So she was crying bitterly because she felt so ashamed of what her brother had done to her. And now I can never get back what he stole from me. I can never be a virgin again. I can never, in our minds, we believe that we can never be pure again. We can never be blameless again. I can never be fully clean again. I am damaged goods. This is what she's thinking in that moment. This is how she's feeling in that moment. And that's how I felt after that moment. Especially around the age of 5 and 6. It was a curiosity that I didn't know where it came from, but it was like, it just didn't, you like, something's off with me. I don't feel like other people around me. Like, I don't feel like a normal kid. Like, why am I over sexualizing things that don't need to be? Like, why am I so curious about something that I'm not old enough to experience. And so I was like, Tamar, I'm damaged goods. Nobody wants me. Now, of course, being that young, I can't tell my daddy no. I don't even know what's happening. Like I said, I'm thinking it's a change pamper situation. So I don't know what's happening. To give a little bit more history into it. So that night before all of it took place, I remember going into the place, and I remember fighting, like not fighting like fully with my mama, like physically, like I'm punching her and stuff. But I remember her having to like drag me into this visitation because I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. And at this point, I wasn't afraid of my daddy. Or if I'm being honest, maybe subconsciously I was, because of what I had just experienced, what I had just witnessed, maybe like a week or two prior, if that, I don't remember timeline wise, and saw a switch. How he went from, it was like Mr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I'll say that. It was Mr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde situation. And so maybe subconsciously I was afraid of him in that point where it was like, I don't want to visit with this man. I don't want to be here. I just want to be with my mama. And she was like, you have to do this. Like, this is what the courts is forcing me to do. So it has to be done. And I hate leaving you there. But this is what I have to do. And so I went begrudgingly, but I went. I went into the visitation. And of course, this is why I was feeling the way I was feeling, because though I didn't have the language or understanding of a gift that God had placed inside of me, I knew something would be off. So that night, as my mother was bathing me, and she was, of course, bathing my whole body, and she got to that area, I was like, ah, it hurts. She's like, what is wrong with you? What you mean it hurt? Like, girl, I'm not even being rough. I was like, ah. So that same night, she took me to the emergency room, and that's where it was. She didn't know at first. All of a sudden, she just saw all these cops, CPS, everything just coming to the hospital, and they was questioning her. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I just brought my child because she was saying it was hurting, but I don't know. And that's what it was. And I have the paperwork, and it's very gruesome, if I'm being honest. So though I love, like, I'll never disrespect him, I'll never bash him. And even in this moment, I'm not bashing, I'm just speaking my truth. And I always have love for him. It's like, dang, you took my innocence away because of whatever you were facing or whatever you went through. You took something as precious as my innocence away from me and made me go through life feeling like damaged goods. That's a lot. That is a lot to have to encounter. And that's what happened to Tamar in verse 12. She goes, but she answered him, no, my brother, do not force me, for no such thing should be done in Israel. Do not do this disgraceful thing. But he was so, Amnon, just like my dad, was so consumed in the devil's trap that they couldn't see past their lust. That, oh my gosh, there's a conscience in me, like the spirit. They allowed their flesh to overpower their spirit. They were living fully in the flesh and allowed the enemy to take over their mind, heart, and soul in those moments. And so the first man in my life who should protect me, who was supposed to protect me, who was supposed to care for me, who was supposed to love me unconditionally, allowed his flesh to strip me of my innocence. And so because of that, I never saw certain things through a child's lens anymore. And so, because my viewpoint became screwed and skewed and jaded, I allowed every guy I dated or was in a relationship with to mistreat, to abuse me, and even to misuse me. Like I said earlier, they could smell it on me. They could smell guilt and shame on me. They could smell it. And so they took advantage of it. And so in verse 14, it says, however, he would not heed her voice. And being stronger than she, he forced her and lay with her. And that continued throughout my journey until I got to a breaking point. Now, I won't say that every guy was like that, because I do believe there was one particular who was not like that. And I will say that was my high school sweetheart. He was not like that. But there were other people before him and after him who were. They were mentally, physically, and sexually abusive. And it was because I desired to be loved so bad that I would just take being the fall girl. So a lot of these people, so the people who I was in relationships with, they either cheated on me, they didn't really value me. They, it was kind of like they saw me the way I saw myself, which was worthless in that time. But for guys that I dated, D cool. D cool. That's I could hang out with D, but I'm not gonna flaunt D as my girlfriend. I'm not gonna make her my girlfriend. I'm gonna just keep her as the fall girl and have relations with her. But my actual girlfriend is someone else. It's not her. And I would take it. Because even if I could just have a piece of you, if I could just have a piece of you, I will take it. To them, I was easily disposable at times when I wasn't needed. I can give like literally one situation where it really was like that. Well, I can give two. So one was a person who I had the biggest crush on. I had a big old crush on him in high school. Really started off in middle school and then kind of led into high school. And he wasn't a bad person. He was just a teenage boy. Throughout the years, we kept in touch, but it never failed. I was always that cool chick. I'm a mess with D, but I have someone else. And so every time we would go back into the dating space with each other, he pop up with not only a girlfriend, but she having a baby. It's like, dang, every time. Number one, I say that's a trigger for me because he was the one who I got pregnant by. Number two, it was like, dang, you really don't value me. Like, I am literally just a chick on the side. Like, and not even like a side chick. It's just like, if I'm in between situations, I mess with you during that time while I'm still out here finding the person who I actually want to commit to. Then the other situation is after I had moved to Huntsville. Me and him, I thought this was the person I was gonna marry, y'all. I really did. That's what happens when you think and you try to plan outside the will of God. I thought I was gonna marry this man. And when I tell you he played in my face so many times, it was ridiculous. I was not like, even though we try to be like, I won't say we judge, but we kind of look at people differently if they're a prostitute or if they pay for certain things or all the things. We all do it. We all do it in different ways. My way was living in a life of fornication while allowing this man to play in my face while he's dating other people and flaunted these other people in front of me. Now, the moment I would talk to somebody else, now he want to block. He want to get in the way. And there were some times where that happened. But not only that, I have put miles on my previous car for him because I'm being raw and uncut. I have no makeup on, no jewelry on. I am raw and uncut tonight. I have also breathed in his breathalyzer because he had multiple DUIs. I have done these things just so I can get a piece of him and try to keep him around, hold him around. Now, how this gonna be my husband and he put me in harm's way for doing things like that that's actually really illegal? But I'm doing it because I'm desperate and I'm desiring to be loved in all the wrong spaces. I even desire to be loved so bad that I actually, like I said, we getting raw and uncut. This is journey to overflow and I have to get it out. I thank the Lord for deliverance. I'll just say that. But I have been a part of same-sex relationships, same-sex relations, and even threesomes. Because I would conform, and my viewpoint of love was lust. But guess what? All these people didn't want all of me. And I was only willing to accept a little of them. But they only wanted the most precious part of me, which was my purity, which was my heart, which was my mind. Those are precious parts of us. And those are pieces that they didn't give me. They for sure didn't give me their heart. They didn't know how. They didn't want to. So I was easily disposable to them. And that happened to Tamar with Amnon. So after he's done laying with her, then Amnon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred with which he hated her was greater than the love with which he had loved her. And Amnon said to her, "Arise, be gone." So she said to him, "No, indeed, this evil of sending me away is worse than the other that you did to me." But he would not listen to her. Then he called his servant who attended him and said, "Here, put this woman out away from me and bolt the door behind her." That is so sad that you got the most cherishable, most precious, most intimate part of me, and now you just tossing me to the side like I'm the problem. Now, guess what? Now I'm left scarred mentally, emotionally, physically. And because I'm doing it so much, now I become numb and empty. Now because this is the thing. Throughout college and different things, I didn't smoke, didn't really drink like that until after I turned 21, and it was still barely, like I just didn't drink. But in 2020, like I talked about last week, where everything started hitting and I was stuck, that's when I started picking up habits to numb the pain, to fill the void of emptiness, and having them come in and out of my life. So whenever I got a hold of them, I'm going to keep them. But sometimes I was just that, and I wouldn't hear from them for like weeks, months, whatever the case. And then next thing I know, "Hey, what you doing? Hey, how are you?" Just at random times. And it's like, dang. But guess what I would do? Text real fast. Call back real fast. Because you're not trying to miss a moment. Because you're so numb and empty. You're filling voids. And it all stems from the innocence that was taken away at such a young age. I had no feelings towards sex. I had no feelings for something that God created beautiful for husbands and wives because it is a beautiful thing, but it's supposed to be between a husband and wife because they become one flesh. In my previous podcasts, previous episodes, which are still on there that you can go listen to, I talk about soul ties. That's where that one flesh is. Now our souls are knitted together. So that's where that emptiness and numbness came in because now I'm dealing with their stuff along with my own. And it's all stemmed from a secret that wasn't so much held because if I've ever had a conversation with you personally, then you'll know my story. I've expressed what happened to me as a child, but this is the first time where it is being fully exposed. And if I'm being honest, while preparing this episode, it has been so hard. It was hard to write. It was hard to prepare myself to record it. And I know it's going to be hard for me to put it out, but it has to be exposed because that's where healing comes in. That's how I journey myself to overflow by not holding on to things that is holding me hostage. It's like bricks around my ankles, sacks around my ankles, and I can't move. So that leads me to Hebrews 12. Verse 1, therefore we also, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. And so I had to get to a place where I could no longer be held hostage to what happened, to what was, to my past. It's called a past for a reason. And so I'm finally exposing it. And come what may, God will take care of me. Come what may. Like my hands were getting sweaty. My underarms was itching. Like this episode is a lot. But it has to be said because if I want to take back everything that the devil stole from me, it has to start with me speaking my truth. It has to. I'm exposing every wicked scheme that has gone on for centuries to so many people. And so many people are afraid to speak up on a broader scale because of intimidation, humiliation, and shame. But with God, we don't operate. He does not condemn us. In him, there is no condemnation. And so I refuse to allow that weight to hold me down from my destiny, from my purpose, from my overflow, in whatever that is. And so I pray the same for you. Because guess what? I wish somebody would have been selling their story like this. And some people probably have, and I probably just ain't seen it because it got worse for me before it got better. It got worse. So some people may say this is a false narrative, but it's not. It's not. And because y'all did not hold him accountable, he kept doing it. And then finally, my heavenly Father stepped in and said, hey, I got some big plans for her. So I got to move him out the way. But unfortunately, because it took me a long time to figure out what true love was, it didn't just happen then. It happened later on. It happened literally just a couple years ago. It happened in 2023. In 2023, I was dating a person. And this was my fault because people were telling me, there were certain individuals who were telling me, you need to stop dating this guy. Leave him alone. Where your trajectory doesn't match his energy. Where the Lord wants to take you, it doesn't match what he's giving. You need to leave him alone. And I kept going. Every time he would hit me up, I'm like, okay, hey. I kept going back. Plus, the restaurant he worked at, I was getting deals. And maybe it came with a cost, but it wasn't out of my pocket for food, drinks, all the things. So, like I said, my fault. I take full responsibility of that. So in 2023, I was dating him. I think at this point I had stopped, but we were still cool. And one night he had came over and I was like, okay, whatever, cool, whatever. He had been drinking and I mean, he reeked of alcohol. Like it was really bad. Like it was coming out of his pores. It wasn't just no beer or nothing. Like it was hard, heavy liquor. Came out of his pores, seeping out. And normally when he was drunk, I already knew, like, okay, he's gonna be very belligerent and all the things, but normally he will simmer down. Not this night. So I had just had a major procedure done. It had been like 2 to 3 months after, because I was getting ready to go to my hometown for the holidays for Christmas. But I was still healing. And just like Amnon, after I said no, stop, I'm not doing this, I was choked to where I could not breathe. And I was told to STFU. And in that moment, I had another outer body experience where my body wasn't my own. My body wasn't my own anymore. And so I just sat there. I didn't make no noises. I didn't do nothing. I just literally turned my head to the side and just waited for it to be over. But also in my mind, I was plotting because I also knew how he moved. And I knew that it wouldn't be the only round. So I thought. But the Lord is mindful. And I'm so grateful for God. Because in my mind, I was plotting. And I said, when he get up, I'm going to get my gun. I'm going to put it in my drawer next to me. And when he comes back, and if he does what he just did, I'm shooting and killing him. That was literally my mindset. I literally faced the death penalty in the face that night. Not only did I face the death penalty, in his eyes, I saw my dad and the devil himself mixed together. And I was so scared. But I was like, I will kill him before I let this happen to me again. So the death penalty was literally staring me in my face because I was going to jail for murder. But the Lord was so mindful that he left me alone. And I literally gave up my bed. I gave up my bed and I went and slept on the couch. Because I also was hit. So I wasn't just choked, but I was hit. I was hitting my head right by my eye. To where I had a major headache the next day. And so because of that, I literally did not talk to that man no more. We worked at the same location. He worked at a restaurant. I worked somewhere else as my part-time. And he tried to confront me and jump stupid with me in front of my coworkers. And I was like, oh no, you're crazy. I was like, don't call me, don't text me, leave me alone. And I never saw him again. I do know that I don't know where he is, but I don't think he's no longer in the city that I live. But I never saw him again. And so I think 2 days later, I went home. And when I tell you I had the worst guilt, because how can I blame him when I let him into my home? How can I blame him when I kept messing with him? So I was putting everything on myself. And finally, I had to fully surrender I had to fully surrender to God. I had to fully surrender to God. And in that moment, I knew that it had to be me and God alone. I needed to stop dating. I needed to stop searching for something, for things through humans, in humans. And it was just me and God for literally 2 years. I did not date. Did not date nobody. It literally was just me and God alone. And I had finally got to a place in my singleness and I was content. I loved it. And I was okay. I said, Lord, if you bless me with a husband, thank you. But if not, I will be okay. Because that moment, it didn't happen to me in college, where most people tell their stories and stuff. I was a full-blown adult, actively in church again. And this was taking place behind the scenes. And I was like, something got to change. So let me state, my daddy nor this guy that I was dating, they're not bad people. They weren't bad people. And they were both smart, really smart, intelligent. Like my daddy, he was a great speaker. He could write his tail off. Like I've seen some of his works. He was great. But he didn't know how to face his demons. And that was the guy who I was dating. He didn't know how to face his demons. So they were numbing it through lust and through alcohol and through substances. They were numbing themselves because they didn't know how to face their demons. And nobody ever was like, hey, face them. Now, some people could have been, I don't know. Like, hey, let me walk you through this. That's where discipleship comes in. Let me walk with you through this process. And I don't believe nobody did that for them. And because I was just as broken as the guy who I was dating, I couldn't help him. I'm learning where my heart is with God and who God is to me. So how can I help you? I can only help you so much. But because they didn't face their demons head on, it gave Satan a foothold to come and create unbridled passions and desires and appetites that would cause damage to someone else. And I just happened to be that person they damaged. Because hurt people hurt people. But let me just put this disclaimer out. Please, 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 please. Face your stuff. Please face your stuff. For the next generation coming up, they cannot. They already deal with a lot. Technology is different. Now we have AI, so artificial intelligence that's making up false narratives every single day. No telling what unborn children are going to have to face. So we have to face our things now, face our demons now, face our trauma now so that we can heal and be whole for them. Generational curses and trauma must break now. So that way they don't have to be plowing and toiling and tearing to break free of curses that we didn't want to face. And really and truly, some of these things should have been broken 2 to 3 generations ago. And I get it, we didn't have the knowledge. But since now have the knowledge, the understanding of who God is, we must break the cycles. Do not keep them going. And that's exactly what I'm not going to do. Because guess what? In verse 20, and Absalom, her brother, this is a different brother. This is not Amnon. This is a different brother. So Absalom, her brother, said to her, has Amnon, your brother, been with you? But now, hold your peace, my sister. He is your brother. In verse 23, so that was verse 20a. In verse 23, it says, and it came to pass after 2 full years that Absalom had sheep shearers in Baal Hazor, which is near Ephraim. So Absalom invited all the king's sons. Now, the title of this part in the New King James Version says Absalom murders Amnon. So it was a whole 2 years later that Tamar had to hold this secret. She had to hold this secret, just like myself. Now I am in a space 28 years later and 2 years later of finally exposing what occurred to me. I have been holding, especially this second part, only a handful of people, literally on one hand, know about me being raped in 2023. There's not a lot of people who know about that, but I'm exposing it because I've been holding it subconsciously hostage. It has been held on me, and I am ready to break free. I'm no longer holding anyone else's secret. I'm no longer holding my secrets because it can help somebody else. Because guess what? Holding secrets don't help the situation. It creates more detrimental cycles. And I'm not going to have my children's children go through what I went through. Absolutely not. I spent years in fear and shame, and I'm not doing it anymore. And it's because I know God's love. I know his heart for me. And because his heart is pure and his love is unconditional for me, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Because now I know that I'm worthy. I know that I am the Most High God's precious jewel, his daughter, his chosen vessel, a part of his royal priesthood. I just had to go through a refining season in that area to place me where I'm at now. And I'm even in another refining season. Your refining seasons never stop. There's new levels of the purity of your of gold. And so you're constantly being refined, you're constantly growing. But in that season, I had to experience a hard refining season where I truly repented. Repentance is changing, doing a 180, turning from the things that held you in bondage, all the things, everything that kept you from really being free and living by the Spirit completely and surrendering and submitting to God wholeheartedly. Once I fully repented and surrendered, that refining season was hard, but I am more than a conqueror. I am a survivor. I am victorious. I am here to tell the story. I'm not behind nobody's cell bars. I'm not in someone's grave. I'm not strung out. Ooh, yes, God. I'm not on the street. I am living proof that you can make it to the other side. Because the moment I got like the woman with the issue of blood, my Lord, and I was like, I just need to touch the hem. That's all I need is the hem of his garment. His touch saved, delivered, and is healing me. There's a desperation that I have for God. But it's because his love is better than anything else. He is more soothing than any substance can give me. He is love and he is the balm of Gilead. So I am grateful that I am here today. That's why when I say literally the Lord could have counted me out, he really could have counted me out. But he didn't see fit. And he don't see fit for you. Tell your truth. Tell your truth. Live boldly for yourself. Lay every weight aside that ensnares you. Do not hold on to this stuff no more. Be free, daughter. Be free, son, because it happens both ways. He is compassionate. He is loving. He is gentle. He is kind. He is patient. He is forgiving. He is faithful and he is trustworthy. He did not leave me. When we ask the question, why does God allow bad things to happen to good people? I asked that same question. It's not so much that God allowed it, but he wanted to use it. Because bad people gonna do what they do. But he knew that he could use it for your good. So let him give you all of his love, his unconditional love, not man's love, the Lord God Almighty's unconditional love. But you have to surrender and release the baggage. So I'm done crying. I'm done crying. But that leads me on to the deep word, the deep word, the deep word, the deep word. So my D word for you today is this. Though your knowledge of lust came through someone else's choices, someone else's mistakes, someone else's baggage, God wants you to experience his true love in him. Give it all to him. Don't let no devil or no person keep you in bondage of your past. It is called a past for a reason. You have a future that is to prosper you. So know that you are justified and you are healed in Christ Jesus. And there is nothing, when I say nothing, nothing that can separate you from the love of God. But more importantly, know that all of it he can use because nothing is wasted in the eyes of God. And that's a word and a word and a word. I will see y'all next episode. I pray this blesses y'all as it has blessed me. And I pray that it heals y'all as much as it has healed me. See y'all next time. Love you.